Hi everyone. Nike reported second quarter fiscal 2023 results after the markets closed on Tuesday, December 20th. So I'm going to update investors on those figures and also update my recommendation. I recommended Nike stock as a buy a few weeks ago, and now I'm going to update that recommendation and say if Nike stock is still a buy after these results. So let's get right into it. So sales boomed for Nike in the second quarter. Overall revenue increased to 13.3 billion. That was up by 17% from last year. And if we excluded the currency impacts, it was up much more than that. So impressive sales quarter for Nike. Diluted earnings per share of 85 cents was up 2% year over year, a much more modest increase of earnings compared to sales. And why were earnings not up as much as sales were up? That's because gross profit margin decreased by 300 basis points to 42.9% compared to last year. This was due to higher markdowns to liquidate inventory, higher logistics cost, and increased products cost. This was somewhat offset by price increases Nike implemented, but it wasn't enough to make up for all of the other factors that were at play. Um, of course, heading into this quarter, if you watched my Nike update from the previous quarter, I noted that the big question mark was going to be inventories. Nike had said in the quarter before this one in Q1, management had said they were going to implement some markdowns, some discounts, some promotions to try and get through some of that elevated inventory levels, and it looks like partly it had worked, right? Sales were up 17% in the quarter. That's a really robust sales growth. Typically, Nike's revenue has grown at a compound annual growth rate of about 8 or 9% in the last decade. So this is a more than 2x the usual growth for in a quarter. And of course, you've got to understand their sales have been volatile ever since the pandemic. It's been up and down based on a few different factors, including lockdowns, reopening, inventory shortages to begin with, and now it's inventory gluts. And so it was good news to see Nike go through a lot of this inventory. They sales increased by 17% compared to last year, but still Nike's inventory of 9.3 billion as of November 30th was up by 43% compared to last year. So even though they made all this progress in selling through a lot of this inventory, the inventory was still up by 43% compared to last year. And the big culprit here was overall sales in Greater China was down by 3% year over year. Now, the company still grew by, almost 20% despite this fact, but China was a headwind for Nike in the most recent quarter. That said, China has started reopening its economy, easing some COVID restrictions, and so that's good news for Nike heading into the current quarter. Hopefully, they can turn things around in China. From what I see here, management thinks the stock is undervalued. Nike repurchased 1.6 billion in shares as part of its 4-year, $18 billion buyback program. So management is sending clear signals that they think their stock is undervalued. And I would agree with Nike's management here. I think Nike's stock is still a buy even after the current quarter. I have been following Nike's website over the last quarter. This is a company I follow closely. I wanted to look at the promotionary activity on the website, and it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. Some things were marked down by 10%, some things by, 15, 20%. And, at the most part, there were some discounts of 40 and 50%, but that was for limited sizes and limited quantities. So you couldn't really find very many things that were marked down 40 or 50%, because when they would quickly sell, and then that would be the end of it. There wasn't any inventory beyond that impact. So overall, the fact that they were able to boost sales by this amount, keep earnings per share increasing despite the tough comparison and the tough quarter going into it, is good news for Nike stock investors. So I would reiterate my buy recommendation for Nike stock. If you're interested, it's still okay to buy Nike stock right now. All right, that's all I've got for this update. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.